It's Mel. It is March, and March is TBR month for me. So in March, I like to go through my TBR, I like to check on my TBR, I like to do some TBR tags, and this year I wanted to do a bunch of try-a chapters because one of the reasons that I do try-a chapters, and the main reason that I've been doing try-a chapters recently, is to get rid of books. I have a lot of books on my TBR, over 600 the last time I counted. I haven't fully counted for this year yet. I have been going through, as I go through, as I look at my TBR, as I move things around, because I'm also moving around my shelves, and selecting books that I don't think necessarily are for me, or maybe are for me, or I don't really know what are about, or I don't know if I'm interested in anymore, and doing try chapters of them. So I've been doing that recently, and in March I wanted to do it even more. I have big stacks of books on my try chapter piles. For the first try chapter that I wanted to do this month, I selected 4 books, basically like women's fiction books that have been on my shelves for a while, or that I acquired not really knowing if I wanted to read them, or some of them I've even tried before and wasn't that into. So I chose these to do my first try chapter for March. Usually what I do is I will select the books, I'll film everything, I'll read the chapters with you or close to with you on camera, and I'll go through the books 1 or 2 at a time. In February, when I started this reading project, it was not a great day for filming. I said, I'll just go ahead and try the first chapter or several pages. Usually I end up reading 7 to 10 pages or the first chapter or more than that, depending on how the books strike me. And I will come back to you later after I have finished these books. That was my intention. I thought it was going to work out well, but now it is much, much later, and I am coming back to you to talk about these 4 books that I read. So the 4 books that I selected were The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is like a kind of sweeping family tale, and I picked this one up at a used book sale at the end of 2023 because I know Jhumpa Lahiri's name and people love this book. But once I started thinking about it a little more clearly, I wasn't sure if this one was for me because it is like a familial tale. It is much more of a intergenerational tale. Those are things that I don't really tend to like in books. So even though I was excited for this book, it's by a Indian author, I wasn't sure if it was really going to be for me, so I selected this one to read in this try chapter. The next book was The Palace of the Drowned, a novel by Christine Magnan. I picked this one up at a little free library many years ago, and I picked this one up because I've heard people talk about her first book, Tangerine, and really liked it. I think I heard Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings read this book and not really like it that much, but it did sound interesting to me, so when I saw it in a little free library, I picked it up. This one I actually put on my end of year TBR in 2023 because it is one that I had been wanting to get to, but when it came time to actually read my end of year TBR, I wasn't entirely sure that I would be into this historical fiction. Historical fiction and multiple timelines is not really my thing, hence why it's in this try chapter. Then I picked up The Divines. This one I actually found in the same little free library, but at totally different times as this book. I picked this one up mostly for the cover. I don't know why. I like both love and hate this cover. I can't tell. But this one seemed like it would be kind of a thriller, kind of a mystery, kind of a women's fiction about a group of girls returning to their boarding school that they had all gone to when they were young. And I do tend to like those kinds of stories, so I was super excited to pick The Divines by Ellie Eaton up. And then finally, I found a proof of Ghosts by Dolly Alderton in the little free library right on the beach close to my house, pre-2022, pre-starting to record my books, and I was super interested in it. I remember hearing about this, which is about a like millennial woman, depressed woman moving kind of person, I believe, who falls in love with a ghost and maybe has sex with a ghost. Dolly Alderton is a comedic writer. She has a new book out in 2024. People are loving it. People love her books. She's also written nonfiction, humorous nonfiction, and even though I'm not interested in that, I was interested in a ghost love story. So this is the final book that I wanted to read in this try chapter. Normally I would go right now and read the books, but since I've already done that, I'm just going to jump right in and tell you what I thought of them. It has been quite a long time, almost a month, since I've read these books, and I have to tell you, I remember very little of what was in each chapter. So I'm not going to talk as in depth as I normally would, but the first book that I picked up was The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri, and this is, as I suspected, a very women-centric, family-geared story, intergenerational, and in the first chapter, we are meeting the mother and father of who is presumably going to be our main character throughout the book at the time of the main character's birth. So this is definitely like a cradle-to-grave story, talking about family, etc., etc. The thing that I really liked about this was that it talked a lot about the mother and how she was concerned because she was the only Indian person in the hospital. This takes place, I think, somewhere in New England, and she really starts to feel like uncomfortable with the idea of giving birth and also with the idea of not knowing what she's doing, but also like wondering if the white hospital staff know what they're doing, and that feeling of kind of alienation both from your body and from the people around you. There was already a lot of very interesting things in this book, but it was very wordy, very purple prose. It was very poetic seeming, and it was very detailed thoughts of like what the mother was thinking, what was going on. That combined with the intergenerational nature of this book definitely did not endear it to me, and pretty much right off the bat I knew I would be unhauling this one. I can't remember what I read next. I think it was Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. This one I read prologue of the book, which was all about our main character who was born on August 3rd, 1986. And it's all about how she's getting ready to go out for her birthday. And she has these rituals that she does on her birthday. She always listens to a song by Wham because it came out on the day she was born. She is going out with her friends. She's excited. And I definitely like this one much more than I thought I would. It definitely has some silly moments and some moments of nostalgia. If you remember the 80s and the 90s, like when this person was growing up. So this is the one that I thought for sure 100% I was going to unhaul, but after reading the first chapter of this one, I thought maybe I would keep it. The next book that I tried a chapter of was Palace of the Drowned, and this one was the one that I thought I was really going to like. It takes place starting in 1966, and the first prologue part follows two people who are meeting up in Rome, and it's kind of unclear whether they're supposed to be meeting up or they're not. The woman was supposed to be going to Rome with her friend, and then the friend backed out, and now she's in Rome alone, and now she's meeting up with this person, and it seemed kind of intriguing and definitely left you on a little bit of a cliffhanger. You weren't really sure what was going to happen. You wanted to find out more about this person. It starts in November and it goes back to October, and we learn a little bit more. I was intrigued by this. It wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping for maybe a little bit more connection with the characters, but I was definitely intrigued at the end, and I thought by the end of this chapter or so, I was going to keep this one. Finally, I have The Divines. This one opens up also, I believe, with a prologue. Yes, most of these had prologues. This one started with a lake and a group of girls in a boarding school. They have a late night or something. It reminded me a lot of Strega by Joanna Leike, which I read last year. That one was way more like all vibes, no plot, and this one seemed more plot. So it was a group of girls kind of coming home from a party, and one of the girls spots another girl face down in the grass. She's out in the morning after the party and she sees this girl and she thinks, oh, she got drunk and fell asleep or whatever. But as she gets closer and as she gets closer to the lake, she realizes something's wrong. So this one was definitely the most intriguing, the most up my alley, like more mystery, definitely a lot more interesting to me. As it stood at the end of reading these books, I was only going to get rid of The Namesake. But now it's been like 3 weeks, almost a month since I've read these. I think I can get rid of all of them. I think I can unhaul every single one of these books. I definitely want to unhaul The Namesake. I think people will really like it. Someone out there will want to read this. I was surprised at how interested I was at ghosts, but I really don't remember anything about it, and I haven't wanted to pick it up since I read these. The Palace of the Drowned, I thought maybe I would want to keep. This was my second most intriguing of this try-a chapter, but after thinking about it to make this video and after just having to explain it to you, I don't really care. And then The Divines is probably the one that I'm most on the fence about, but like I said, I barely remember anything after a month, and usually when I do a try chapter, I'm really thinking about some of the books, or I can remember what I read about them, and they're still really intriguing to me. These four are not. I would say the one that I knew I was going to unhaul right away is the one that I remember the most, and the rest I barely remember at all. So I think we're going to go ahead and unhaul all four of these books and call it a very productive try-a chapter. Why do you do try-a chapters? Do you do it so that you can find a book that you want to read? Do you do it so that you can find a book you want to unhaul? Do you do it so that you can remind yourself what the book is about? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned here, and if you think I definitely should not unhaul any of them. If you think that I would like some of them, let me know that in the comments as well. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!